In this lesson, we'll continue building our main body. So we have our front face already built, and we're going to use that same face for the back surface. But we want to make sure that we get the correct offset to use. So what I'm going to do is take the surface we've already created, and I'll use a command called extract isocurve, which is this icon right here. And I'll click on this, and you can see it's going to draw a cross section through here no matter where I drag the cursor. If I want the curve or the isocurve to go in the opposite direction, then I just press T and enter to toggle the direction. And now it's running horizontally. And this way I can get a snap right on my quad here. So this is, I know, the widest part of my model. Hit enter to apply that. And it has the most curvature of our model at this particular point. So I'm going to use that as where I start a line that will represent how thick my actual walkie-talkie is going to be. Our walkie-talkie will be 30 millimeters thick. So I'm just going to press my polyline tool. I've got my midpoint snap on, and I'm just going to snap right in the midpoint of that curve. Then I'm going to hold down my shift key and drag my cursor to the back of the object. I'll type 30, hit enter. And again, I'm dragging my cursor out to the back with the shift key held down, and I'll just click. So now I've placed a curve that's perpendicular to this surface, and I know that it's 30 millimeters from the start of the line, which is right on this widest part of this cross section, to this end point here. Now I can take the surface and I can go up to the transform, and I'll select mirror, move my cursor so I can see this line fairly well, and move the cursor right to the center there. I'll click mid. I'll hold down my shift key and drag towards me or away from me, and that way I know I'm constrained to a straight line. And now I have my back surface placed. Now it looks a little wide right now, and that's because we haven't put the big round fillet in that we're going to have in this particular model. So let me temporarily just switch off this underlay layer, as we don't need that for now. And I can take this curve, and I'll just middle mouse click, press this icon, and I'll just hide that curve. And I'll do the same with that curve. I'll just select it, I'll press the space bar to apply the hide command again. So I have my two surfaces, and because I mirrored them, this back surface is now concave out in the rear direction. If I had just taken this surface and dragged it and copied it over to here, then the concave would be facing in, and that wouldn't work for me. But because I made a mirror of it, this surface is now tipped out. So I have my surfaces, and we're just going to select these, and we're going to use another command called duplicate border, and that's under this icon here, so under the curve from object menu, and it's this icon, duplicate border. So I click that, and we've duplicated those exterior borders of those surfaces. It's a much quicker way than doing a duplicate edge and have to click on all of the individual edges. And I do want a continuous curve going around here so I can run one nice rail around the object. And then I'll come in, and I'm going to draw a straight cross section through here. And I'll snap to this end point of that line. And I'll snap again to the end point of the line on this side. I'll take both of those curves, and here notice I don't actually have the curve. So let me control click on that to deselect it. And whenever Rhino sends up a menu like this, it's because you've clicked very close to two items and it doesn't know which one you want. So I'll just tell it I want the curve. I'll go up to surface, and I'll select sweep two rails. I have my two rails selected, which were the curves we'd selected previously. And for my cross section, I'll just select this curve that I just drew. I'll press enter. And you'll notice the surface goes all the way around the object. If it doesn't, take a look and see if your close sweep is checked. Mine stays closed even if I uncheck it, but I will check it just to make sure that it does close the object up for me. And I'll just leave do not simplify on. This gives me a nice clean line. Doesn't try to do any different sort of math to the line. It just gives me a very nice clean surface. I'll click OK. Now that leaves my curve selected. So if I hold down Shift and just click on this curve here, now I can go ahead and move these curves off to my curve layer, again, just to kind of manage my scene. I'll come in and I will select Join. I'll join this surface to this surface. And then I'll just click right here. See, it says Creating Meshes. That tells me that it made a solid for us. So I'll take this object, and just to kind of double check it, I'll go into my Analyze section, and I'll select the Show Edges command. And right now it's telling me there's no naked edges, no non-manifold edges. When you first click on this command, or the first time you apply this command, you might find that all edges is checked. So if you're seeing something like this, but your command line is telling you that there are no naked edges, just make sure you have your button here highlighting naked edges. And that tells us that all of these edges are joined completely. There are no parts of any of this model that aren't joined to another, so there are no naked edges. And that's exactly what you want. This is what would be considered a watertight model. And if we were finished with this design, we could send this off to a 3D printer as is to get a rapid prototype made. So that completes our look at using the 2-rail sweep to finish creating the main body. In the next lesson, we'll look at adding some nice soft edge details to this design.